Hello and welcome. Today I'd like to share with you a fun fantasy called Oops. In her mid-60s, using a cane, Ellen stepped into the elevator of the medical clinic. Stiff and hunched over, she turned around to select her floor button. Hopping in on crutches, Jim rushed in with her. His lower left leg was in a cast. Puffing and pouting, he looked at Ellen. Fourth floor? The 20-year-old nodded at Ellen. Jim was the strong, athletic type with handsome good looks. He was wearing a muscle t-shirt with trousers. Pushing the buttons, Ellen gave him a half a smile. They both looked straight ahead. Then the elevator started to jerk up and down. It raced only slowly. Oh shit, no, not now, Jim sighed, disgusted. Pouting, he was upset. The elevator snapped the doors open on the third floor, then snapped shut. Hey, Ellen exclaimed, my floor. She sniffled, rubbing her nose. Scowling, Jim hit the door with his crutch. Fuck. His jaw clenched. The elevator jerked up to the fourth floor. It opened quickly and started to shut. Jim poked his crutch out the door slightly, then it shut down on his crutch. The elevator jerked down between the floors and stopped because of the crutch. Startled and thrown off balance, Jim and Ellen fell back against the wall. Jim stood up looking at Ellen. You all right? Yeah, my appointment was on the third floor. She rubbed her sore right arm, staring at him. She saw his frustration, worry, and fear. And gritting his teeth and clenching his jaw, I'm supposed to get this cast off today. He wiped his eyes. Surely they'll find us soon. This is a medical clinic. She sensed something was wrong. I have an appointment with my chiropractor. He makes me feel so good. It itches, growling. He tried to reach in the cast on his lower leg. That's a good sign. I'm Ellen. Jim. He was abrupt and kept scowling. Their phone cells didn't work either because of no signal. There was a long silence. Jim kept gripping the rail and circling around. Ellen kept looking at her watch and sighed and rubbed her nose. She couldn't help her allergies. She also noticed how agitated he was. Do you want to talk about it? He turned to her. What? Ellen shrugged and guessed. Girlfriend problems? She noticed lipstick on his collar. How did... And figured as much, a handsome young man like you. Oh, God, she's a pain in the ass. He wiped his face. Okay, so Lisa kissed me. He turned to Ellen. Never mind, old lady. He shook his head. Might as well. Ellen shrugged her thin shoulders. We yelled long enough. Her allergies made her sniffle. And Jim spun around on his right leg. I want to get back onto the team, too. Football? Ellen inquired. He rubbed his neck. My doc is supposed to tell me whether I can still play. The team needs me. What position? I love to watch college ball. Wide receiver, he told her. Are you Jim Fields for the Horns? Yeah, he turned to her. You have a great future ahead of you. Yeah, right. His voice was sarcastic and he rubbed his neck, worried. What about you? He turned to her, not really interested. And Ellen kept shrugging her shoulders and rubbing her arms full of arthritis. I just enjoy my retirement, volunteering at the library and other places. So this Lisa kissed you and your girlfriend saw you? She turned her interest back to him. Uh-huh. He had his back to her. I just took Lisa to her dentist. He shook his head and wiped his face. Leaning on the one crutch, he started rambling. Then I went to practice, to talk to the coach. His jaw clenched again. And Cindy? She yelled at me in front of everyone, calling me names. He shrugged his strong shoulders. I wanted to talk on the way over here, but no, total silence. She just dropped me off. I don't know. Then almost 2 weeks ago, we were playing volleyball. Paul, my teammate, fell on my leg and broke it. Well, I'm sure everything will work out. My husband and I had a lot of fights, but it was true love. Is true love for you and Cindy? She looked at him. Did I yell again? With his back to her, Jim leaned against the crutch in the wall. He sighed. If you want to. He didn't know what to do, but realized it was true love. There was a long silence. They both sat down on the floor, and Ellen grimaced with her pain in her back. Tired, Ellen sighed and leaned back on the wall. She looked at her watch. Almost 2 miles. 2 hours had passed. Then a bright yellow light flashed and the doors flew open. Startled, Jim and Ellen turned away from the intense blinding light. Jim stood up and helped Ellen up. They stepped out of the elevator as the light dissipated. The hell? Ellen snapped, covering her eyes. Oh my God. Jim felt no pain in his leg. Then another white light engulfed them, then dissolved. Blinking, they slowly turned to each other. Their eyes and mouths dropped open. Jim had Ellen's personality and consciousness, while Ellen had Jim's personality and consciousness. They had switched bodies. What the hell? Ellen blurted out, looking at Jim's body. Oh my God, Jim exclaimed, looking at Ellen's body, down at it. He stood up straight with no pain. I'm in your body? He snapped. I got your body? Making faces, Ellen looked down at Jim's body. What the hell happened? Ellen shook her head at him. What did you do to me, old lady? They stared at each other. You've been maneuvering me. She made a face at him, Jim. I. Jim was blinking and realized that he was right. She always had to control everyone and everything. Cocking his head, he stared at Ellen. You did go out with Vicky. You cheated on Cindy. I can't help it. The girls always come at me. Ellen straightened up. They didn't notice Mark rush over to them. Wearing a green jumpsuit, he looked young and serene. He had a light complexion and light hair. He approached them quickly. Jim! Mark extended his hand to him. Staring at his hand, Jim shook his head, pointing to Ellen. Cindy, an attractive blonde, ran in the door up to Jim, hugging and kissing him. I'm sorry, Jim. And startled, Jim pushed her away and shook his head at Ellen, pointing at her. Pouting with her hands on her hips, Ellen, mouth dropped open. Hey, I'm Jim, she snapped. Oops. Mark's eyes rolled around. Oops. Ellen turned to him. Who are you? Jim also turned to Mark. Oops. And then Cindy turned to Mark. What do you mean, oops? Mark heard voices in his mind. What did you do, Marcus? The voice was low and mellow. His eyes rolled around. My fault, PC. I will fix it. This is your first time, he heard the voice. I know. I won't let you down. I can do this, PC. Who are you talking to? Who are you? Jim insisted. Confused, Jim, Ellen, and Cindy were staring at Mark. Mark cleared his voice and urged Cindy to stand back. I am here for you, Jim. She stood too close. He glanced over at Ellen. Skeptical, Jim and Ellen made faces at Mark. What's PC? Jim wondered. Closing his eyes, Mark held his hands up with his palms facing Jim and Ellen. What's going on here? Cindy asked. A warm white light formed around Jim and then Ellen. They jumped back startled, and Cindy was also startled and fell back, catching herself. Mark crossed his arms, exchanging the lights on Ellen and Jim. The light dissolved around them. Blinking at each other, Jim and Ellen felt stunned and back to normal. Jim's cast was gone, and he felt no pain. Smiling, Ellen took a deep breath, feeling no pain, and she had her normal body. What just happened? Confused, Jim wrinkled his long nose. I am your mentor for the new world. It's time. Mark looked at Jim and then the others. I apologize for the interruption. Ellen's brown eyes lighted up and stared at Mark. Mentor? Mark nodded at her. PC is the prime creator? Mark was enthusiastic and excited. and he nodded at her. Yes, this is my first time as a mentor. You know about us? What's happening? He was surprised. All about it. Relieved Ellen smiled brightly. Her face glowed. You know about all this? Mark peered at Ellen. Absolutely. The event, Ascension, Shadow Government, the Cabal, Gitmo, Nasera, Elite, the Restored Republic. Mark smiled, amazed with Ellen. Pedophiles, ETs, Hollywood, hidden technologies. Mark was ready to talk to her, but heard PC's voice. Marcos, stay focused. It has been a long time since you had a human body. Yes, PC, I know. What's going on here? Cindy insisted, confused, and wrinkled her nose. I have so many questions. Ellen was looking Mark over. You're so young. Staring at Ellen, Mark put his arm around Jim to escort him outside. It is time. It has started. Oh, yeah, I forgot, Ellen sighed, remembering. We get to choose what age we want to be. And walking with Jim, Mark smiled at her. He wanted to help Ellen, too. In my last carnation, I was 89 years old. And Jim put his arm around Cindy, then looked over at Ellen and winked at her. It is true love. Nodding and smiling. You're right about me. I need to work on being too bossy. They all started out the door, and looking down, Ellen had her head down and was thinking to herself out loud, I wonder who my mentor is. I'm here, dear. Ellen heard a familiar voice and perked up, seeing Judy, an attractive 35-year-old woman. Oh my God, Mother! Shaking her head disappointed, Ellen wiped her face because they always had a strained relationship. Quickly, Judy escorted her towards the door. Why couldn't Dad do this? Oh, he's off somewhere else in the galaxy. Do I get a mentor? Cindy wondered. They all walked outside to a new world. Is this just a fun fantasy, or is it real? Well, all we have to do is just wait, because it's time. For more of Ellen's escapades, check out the links below, and also there's more short stories waiting for you as well. Thanks for watching.